Hey everyone, welcome to Wisecrack Live. This is Michael Burns with producer Henry. The quality
Hello.
is different today. Behind me is the Chicago History Museum. Spoiler alert, I'm in the city of Chicago. I'm visiting my in-laws for Passover, but we didn't want to not do the stream. So we're going to do it today like this. It might get a little messy. We appreciate your patience. We got some stuff to talk about. Um, a few things at the outset. I will not be able to see your comments today because I'm just doing this on a phone. So Henry's going to help out with that. If you feel like I'm not as responsive and attentive as normal, know that it's not because I don't love you.
Yes, I'll
So
try to stay on top of getting all your wonderful questions to Michael. For instance, the letter W is wondering, did you get to go to any of the restaurants they recommended?
so I just got in last night, letter W. I really appreciated the email. I think I'm trying to remember. There was one spot I'd been to before, and the rest I hadn't. So I'm here through the weekend. So thank you again for that. I really appreciate it. Letter W wrote an email last week. Also, we got some really good emails this week. We we're not going to use this yet because of today's format, but someone sent us a Harris Hole theme song. So that's huge. We asked for it and you did it, and that's really incredible. Got some good video recommendations too, so thanks for that. As always, wisecracklive666 at gmail.com. I love having to explain the 666 thing to people. Um, let's think, and before we get going as well, because it'll be a little bit looser today, if anyone has questions, I'll say this, Midwestern honesty policy. So if anyone has a question about anything, wants our opinion on something, wants to know anything like that, feel free. So we'll get into it. So what are we going to talk about today? Um, we had some videos come out last week. We had the one that came out that was on Easter eggs, kind of like Easter eggs and QAnon. That was fun. It picked up some steam after not doing well. But the video that came out Monday that a lot of people seem to watch is on the trolley problem. And there's one aspect of that I want to talk about in a second, which is that people got really mad that we showed some clips from The Good Place, and then I made a comment to the extent of spoilers for The Good Place, but also the show's been out for a long time, and if you get spoiled, that's a you problem, not a me problem. And some people were offended, including the CEO of streaming platform Nebula, who took a shot at me on Twitter yesterday and said, accused me of gaslighting our audience by saying that. Um, so I'm gonna, in a second, I'm gonna start moving, guys, because there's some historical sites I would love to show you. Um, I'm curious for Henry's opinion on this, and Henry, maybe while you're talking, if you notice stuff in the comments, what is your take on? And I'll again, the official Wisecrack stance has always been something that's good isn't spoilable because even if you learn a twist or something like that, the narrative should hold up on its own. And that's why great films and TV shows and plays, we can rewatch them. So our stance has always been that like it's nice to not spoil, for example, if there's a new episode of Succession or The Last of Us and something big happens, we're not going to ruin that for you. But if a show has been out for years or something like that, it might get loud because a bunch of children are about to walk by. Um, that it's not something you can really spoil. So, Henry, what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, there's like a general politeness embargo of current items you don't want to spoil if something is new. I'd say, there's a good year or so, maybe even longer, depending. I mean, I understand why some people are sensitive on a certain level to not having fresh things spoiled. But I do agree that you can't really spoil a good story in the sense that like you're supposed to get beyond the like, oh, that surprised me into like, well, why does that surprise me? What does this tell me about the story? What is like the narrative trying to do? What is this piece of art trying to provoke by, arranging itself in this manner? It's the same thing with listicles for me. I don't really believe in listicles. I kind of generally do tier things, and I know we did like a top 10 end of the year thing with film here, but I think, the point of those things is to start a conversation, but then you're supposed to get beyond like, X is better than Y, and then go, well, like, what's X doing that I value over what Y is doing, and why do I prioritize these things and what I seek out? Like,
Yeah,
it's that sort of half. Again, like I said, there's a general like nicety and politeness to like not spoiling new things, and I do like having a visceral reaction on first watch, and then on rewatch, seeing what differs and what's different, knowing how things are arranged within the story overall. But yeah, I don't think spoilers are the be all end all. Some things I've only watched because someone has spoiled it for me, and they've sold me more on why it's actually like good art in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, people still go to church even though we know that Jesus dies. But no, but I do agree with what you're saying on all of that. Basically, I think especially in the example of the video that we put out this week. But again, hey, thanks for being here, everyone. If you're like, what the fuck is going on? I'm out of town this week, but we're still streaming. So I'm going on a walk. We're hanging out. We're gonna look at some sites along the way. It's gonna be great. But we're talking about spoilers because people got mad that I made fun of people for getting mad at spoilers. Also said I was really condescending. I don't think I'm condescending. Maybe it's pretentious of me to think that I'm not. Um, but I think in particular, the example we used in the video was The Good Place. And I kind of just don't think you can spoil a sitcom as well. Like it's one thing if I was like, hey guys, let me tell you about the usual suspects that you've never seen. Let me tell you all about Kaiser Soze or whatever. Like that would be kind of fucked up. But it was an NBC pretty silly sitcom that stopped airing 5 years ago that went for multiple seasons, and we showed you a few clips. So I don't know, and part of me wonders, and this maybe relates to like the Easter egg video we put out this week, if this is overly indicative of culture being about like pattern recognition and Easter eggs and like, ooh, the new thing happened, rather than consuming things on the basis of the quality of the story, the acting, the characters, the themes. And I do wonder if like there is a relationship, not just to try to tie our videos this week together, between Easter egg culture and, like you said, listicle culture and
Yeah,
the sometimes obsession with spoiler culture.
I feel because this is something I've been noticing in pop culture. I noticed it when I started going back to like Neil Gaiman around the time Netflix dropped Sandman, where there's sort of like this Gen X flavor of punk subculture where it was always a bit more about being clever than being insightful. Like it was making pun or comment on something that's like classical canon. It still requires like classical canon knowledge to really understand. And I feel like that's just sort of a general attitude we see now, where we're more about like reaffirming what we see in like classical geek culture or like it's still like traditional consumer culture, just with a new kind of recognition skin, where we're kind of congratulating ourselves with the new set of symbols.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to show you something cool. I'm going to flip my camera around. Look what I found, guys. Um, we have Abraham Lincoln, who some of you might know as the person who invented the woke mind virus and turned America into the communist liberal hellscape that it is. But there's Abraham Lincoln. Some of you probably know this. He's from Illinois, which is why they would have a statue of him here. But we're all about history, so I wanted to show you guys Abraham Lincoln. Anything worth discussing from the comments as of yet? Not worth discussing because I'm sure they're all great because everyone's great. But anything you wanted to shout out?
Yeah, we've been getting a few comments on just spoilers being instances where sometimes they sell the story. We have some people asking, they're a little late to the conversation, asking what's up with the gaslight talk.
Yes. So the gaslight talk was, and I don't have the tweet in front of me, and everyone, I just because I'm on my phone today, I can't really pull stuff up like normal. Um, the guy who runs the app Nebula did this tweet. I should have screenshotted it, but I guess I don't want to start shit because I think Nebula is very cool. I just didn't know this guy is maybe a either a dick or someone who just has weird tone on Twitter. But he tweeted something to the effect of like, Wisecrack fans, we feel invalidated and gaslit by you spoiling things. And it was like Wisecrack's response, well, actually, um, something like that. And I found it very annoying because I was defensive because I was like, don't you dare fucking say that we don't value our fans. I love you guys. I think you all know that. I think there's a reason why like we do this stream, why we have a Discord, why I'm on our Twitter responding to people way too much, why I respond to so many comments on videos. But yeah, so the I think the accusation was that when people in some of the comments were mad that I quote unquote spoiled the good place, that rather than trying to explain why we don't think it's that simple, that in doing that, I guess I was gaslighting by not validating people's critiques. So I think that is the gist of the critique that was leveled, at me and Wisecrack as a whole. So that's the gaslighting thing. I mean, again, and maybe people in the comments do feel like that. Maybe some of you do feel like like that was dismissive, but
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to hear
uh,
from the chat as far as something that they were more interested in after having it spoiled. Also, the most recent thing that was spoiled for them that they were legitimately shocked by. I can't really think of the last time I learned something I didn't
yeah,
want to learn.
yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think. Like, I've definitely had stuff spoiled for me, even kind of recently. I mean, this is really dumb. Basically, I watch reality shows, and often those get spoiled. But it's like, who cares? The point isn't the outcome because we know they're all manufactured anyways. Um, I don't know. Like, I mean, there's quite a few films I've seen. I think like the movie Nope. I had a lot. I knew a lot of what was going to happen in that before I saw it. And again, this used to be a thing I was obsessed with. But like, my take on that again would be that if the value of the thing is significantly diminished because you know a fact that happens, then the value of the thing isn't good. So who cares? If a thing is good, then learning one fact won't ruin that. Like for example, I was talking to a friend about Dungeons and Dragons. I thought was pretty fun. And there's like a cameo in that movie that one might consider a spoiler, but like I'm not going to say who it is right now if you didn't see it. It's like fun, but it's like a stunt casting thing. But it's like that's not going to ruin the movie for you. If knowing that like X famous actor shows up for 90 seconds is going to ruin a 2-hour movie for you, I just don't know what to tell you. Um, yeah, should we check out some comments from this week? And maybe
Yeah,
we don't
I
have to
can
go through.
definitely load
Yeah,
up some of the comments you sent over.
yeah. Let's load up some comments. In the meantime, again, this is Wisecrack Live. Wisecrack Live from Chicago. Michael Burns with producer Henry. I'm currently in a lovely park in Chicago, Illinois, near Lake Michigan. Show you guys. Sorry. Oh, I think I'm back now. The lakes. And sorry, someone tried to call me, guys. I should have put my phone on don't call me mode. And again, if you're just tuning in, I'm hanging out with Abraham Lincoln. So there he is. Abraham Lincoln, notable Republican, because the thing that really far right people always like to say is that Abraham Lincoln and the Republicans ended slavery, and Democrats are bad because of that, or something. I don't know. But once again, this is Wisecrack Live. We don't care about politics. Like the stream, if you appreciate that. Technically on vacation right now visiting family, but I still wanted to do this to be with you all. And also like the stream if you think that, of course, that means I don't hate our audience because I'm doing this to hang out with everyone. But thanks for being here again. I know it's a weird one. We probably won't go as long today. We're also going to, just so everyone knows this, we're going to look at some comments. We're going to talk about the Bud Light controversy. Now, the Bud Light controversy isn't that it's a pretty shitty beer that tastes like water that's not very good. The Bud Light controversy involves them featuring a trans person in a commercial, and now right wing people are shooting beer with guns to protest that. We'll get into it. Henry has a video queued up. We'll watch. But for now, let's maybe go through some comments. And I think I have them in order, Henry, where the first chunk I sent would be from the trolley problem video, and the second
Yes.
chunk would be from the Easter eggs video. And as you start reading those, guys, I'm going to keep walking through the park on
I'll
the
be
Chicago History Trail.
I'll be reading them off for Michael to hear. The first one is it is not a trolley problem, it's a trolley opportunity.
I just really like that one. And then some fun bits formed in the comments after that. So I just want to give that person credit. Also, while we're here, let me just show you guys. This is the exterior of one side of the Chicago History Museum. Lovely building. But yes, I just thought that was a fun comment, and it led to kind of some fun uh, conversation and bits. So appreciate that person for that fun, I guess like obvious, but you know what? They're the one who came up with it, sort of thing. So that's really great. As you read the next comment as well, I'm realizing I'm going to walk under a little overpass in a second. So if my signal diminishes, I'll be right back. But what's the next comment you got?
Let's test this signal. Next comment. Every time I hear the trolley problem, I'm always wrecked with the question, where's the freaking brake?
Okay, so this is another issue. I think that's, and again, if anyone didn't have a chance to watch our video on the trolley problem, the main gist of it was that the trolley problem itself, as developed, by some philosophers in England, uh, was to kind of problematize a certain tendency in moral arguments, and in particular was to argue against some Catholic moral philosophers that were anti-abortion or anti, women's bodily autonomy. And in that, the trolley problem is sort of not meant to be taken as seriously as some take it. Okay, we're entering signal degradation tunnel. Let's see what happens. Um, but all that said, um, because the example's so silly, I just thought like, what a good point. Like, where are the brakes? Why can't you just stop it? Why are those the only options? And then to go a little further there, it's sort of what do I want to say? Yeah, I think it just like continues this weird thing and a weird issue with the trolley problem where it reduces morality to sort of these either or options. But yeah, where are the fucking brakes? Who's maintaining these trolleys? It's absurd.
Oh, all right. We're still getting audio from you, Michael. We just can't see where you are currently. Give me just a
Oh
moment.
no. Okay, let's see.
There we
It says
go. I think you're
okay, my
back up
signal is
now.
back. Okay, good. I'm glad that I'm back because I'm about to just quickly show you another important American figure as we get the next comment ready. Let's see. Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin, who is not from Chicago, nor did he ever live in Chicago. I'm honestly not sure why there's a Ben Franklin statue in this park in Chicago. But there you go. I'm glad I'm back. It turns out the tunnel did take me out for a sec, but no more tunnels on this stream. But again, thanks for hanging out and being here. How about another comment?
All right, next comment. Always maximize casualties with your trolley attack, regardless of your personal feelings. The hardest choices require the strongest wills.
Yeah, so there was some real sicko shit in some of the comments where people were just getting into the trolley problem being like a trolley opportunity for carnage. And I just found that really funny. Maybe that means there's something wrong with me, but and I think too there was something about some of those comments that I liked because they were getting at the fundamental thing we were getting into, which is it's kind of by some metrics a maybe silly thing not to be taken too seriously in the first place. So, and I'll say this as well because there were some people in the comments that did talk about how there is a lot of value in the trolley problem. Sure, but we'll just wait. There's some comments that'll get to that. But let's we can keep it moving down the content up and down the comment train.
Yeah, the next comment moves into the utility of the trolley problem, so let me bring it up. It's a bit of a long one. The trolley problem is useful precisely because it is removed from the real life situation. It's a simplified toy problem, suitable for first year philosophy students to introduce the difference between different approaches to ethics. Just as engineering students start off by ignoring friction so that they can understand the basics of physics before later learning the stuff they'll actually use, so we must start out with these basic problems to develop our moral sense before we can learn how to decide what to do in real life.
Yeah. So I think that's interesting. Like, I don't know if I intuitively or initially like agree with that, but yeah, I think if the trolley problem or moral hypotheticals like that are used as a framework to introduce different moral or ethical philosophies and help someone understand the stakes of those philosophies so that they can then apply those moral philosophies to more lived situations, then I get that. And I think that can be valuable. Um, and again, I think my overall issue with the trolley problem in general is when people take it too seriously. So I think that's fair. And the engineering example is fun. I know nothing about these things, but yeah. What do you think, Henry?
Yeah, it's more a demonstration of an absurd scenario and what you do when forced into like a limited situation, but it's not a structural affirmation of like this is what reality is or should be
Mhm.
modeled into.
Yeah, I don't know, and I think too, like just for me, I in general am dubious or skeptical or whatever of what happens when philosophy becomes too thought experimenty. Um,
Right.
I'm not, and I'm someone I've talked about this in videos and on stream and stuff. I love Greek philosophy, and I love the existentialist, and I love sort of like Marxist orientation of philosophy. And the thing that all of those tendencies, orientations, theories have in common is they believe that philosophy is a way of life or a conceptual framework that facilitates the criticism of reality for the sake of living life in new ways. And that's why sometimes I'm put off by things that get too hypothetical because I think it turns philosophy into a matter of logical puzzles in a way that can risk it being about the living of life. And there's something.
It
Oh, go ahead, Henry.
It reminds me of like just the general pop conception of the term post-apocalyptic. Again, this bleeds
Mm,
into the ideas of capitalist realism, where it's kind of taken as is that like, oh yeah, there's going to be an end. It's going to be graded brown and yellow. There's going to be some sort of mutant or zombie threat, and everybody's going to want to be like agrarian hunter gatherers of like some like post-ranchian like Jeffersonian America. Um, it's making a lot of assumptions about what people assume reality is just going to manifest
mhm.
itself as in the same way.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and I was thinking too of, and if anyone had $50 on me talking about Soren Kierkegaard today, there you go. But this is something that Kierkegaard talks about a lot. Is he worries that in his era, which is mid 19th century Copenhagen, Denmark, that everyone's just making all thought, all religion, all philosophy about, ooh, I see some very pretty birds, about abstraction and sort of is turning existence into a parlor game where ideas are just like almost like clever trivia facts and not things that tell us how to live life. So 100%. And before we get to the next comment, again, thanks for tuning into Wisecrack Live today. Things look a little different because I'm broadcasting live from the city of Chicago, where I'm out of town, but Henry and I still wanted there to be a stream this week. Because of those limitations, I'm not obviously at my desk in front of a computer. I don't have the same access to reading everyone's awesome comments. So here, let me just pretend I can read some comments right now. Oh, really good point. The letter W that involved a bit of
Got one for you.
sardonic, sardonic humor. And Vox, great point. And I think you really recontextualize things that help me. And Caspi, I don't agree with you, but I love that you hate Johnny Harris. Thanks to all our members. Glad that you're here. Maybe one of those people is actually here today. But yeah, go ahead, Henry.
Oh, Julia Coves was just asking, has anyone
Julia.
ever learned about the veil of ignorance?
Well, I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is, Henry, or do we want to wait for Julia to explain it to us?
I'm not familiar, but if Julia would like to explain a bit more, I'm happy to read any more comment on it.
Yeah, Julia, who famously last week had someone she went on a date with watch the stream, which is one of the coolest things anyone's ever done. So that's the new challenge. Go ahead.
Evan Sather just gave us $5. He says, Michael, take a walk through the Lincoln Park Conservatory as you keep walking north. I'll doubt you'll lose signal in there.
And then I can. I mean, you might have a sense of where I am. I can see it now. I'm getting very close. I was very sure. I know we have people that watch the stream that live in or around Chicago, so it's kind of like, oh man, like what if someone's a murderer and they come kill me? But that'd be a pretty sick way to die. If like I'm just like this looking and you see someone come up behind me and they kill me, and it's not gonna kill me though. But
Heck,
yes, I'm kind of heading that way. I can see the zoo and the conservatory, so we'll see what happens. I think I'm avoiding going too much closer to the lake because I worry it'll get windy. But yeah, um,
Julia got back to us. The veil of ignorance is a philosophy tool used more fairly in vision. Oh, it's a political philosophy tool. The comment just got edited while I was reading it, so apologies. But Hector Perez also appreciates us taking the time to stream while you're away on vacation.
oh, thank you so much, Hector. And also, what else am I going to do than tell my in-laws I have to work and then just take a lovely walk and hang out with all of you? Um, sorry. So wait. So did
Oh,
Julia
Julia's
have the
back.
comment?
The
She's
veil of
back.
ignorance is a philosophy tool used to envision society as more fair by pretending that they are ignorant of your personal circumstances. So I guess it's the
Mm,
state of, yeah, assuming ignorance so that you don't have to investigate the personal circumstances behind, say, someone who's impoverished in some sense.
yeah. And again, that's one of those things that I like. I get the almost intellectual or hypothetical value of that. I just, and again, this is I'm
This
learning
is.
this from.
Uh huh.
Yeah, go ahead. No, no, you go.
Oh, this is something that comes to mind when. So, as a cinephile film student and kid of the 90s, Quentin Tarantino was a huge influence on a lot of the culture I consumed and tried to imitate. But one thing I note in his use of dialogue and his use of pop culture reference is, for instance, Reservoir Dogs is so laden with pop culture reference because they can't talk about personal details. They can't like say each other's names or where they live or if they have families because they're all in on a crime. The only thing they have to talk about is the pop culture fluff. And that speaks to me with the concept of veil of ignorance in the same way that something like the Venture Brothers does, where all the henchmen are the ones who talk about all the geek stuff and all the nerd stuff. Like, all the pop culture consumption stuff is a means of avoiding talking about issues of like class or politics or anything
Yeah.
potentially material in a consumer society. And that's something I really value when I see in pop culture.
Yeah, that makes me think too of like I feel like some of the conversations that happen in especially season 1 of Atlanta with like Darius and Paperboy and Earn are kind of like that as well. Like there's
Yes.
so much going on that we see in front of us, but then Darius will have the randomest conversation about an element of like pop culture, Eastern spirituality or something like that. Um, but yeah, that's very cool. Well, let's see. Yeah, maybe we can go through some more comments. And as we do that,
Yeah, we have
I'm
more
gonna move
comments.
down to a little boardwalk by some water, and maybe I'll show you guys geese in a second.
Yeah, show us the water. I'm going to go ahead
Again,
and read the next comment.
do it.
The funniest meme of this is the guy pulling the lever halfway and the trolley launches into the sky and straight into a children's hospital.
I just find that so funny. Because again, I think again it's something that's both funny, but I think highlights the absurdity of the whole thing, right? That like these are your only two options, and then you do it, and it just hits a children's hospital. I'm sorry, I just find it funny. Guys, here's a fun thing. So I just started walking. It looks kind of cool over here. And look where I ended up. I'm gonna show you guys something. I'll get closer so we can really see it. I've ended up at Michael's Landing. The sign says, "Be present in each moment. Enjoy nature's changing beauty. Seek peace and love." I think that's a nice standard. So let's just take a moment of nature. Everyone will be quiet for 10 seconds. Got some animals for you. Cool, we're back. Now we can start just making content and producing data for the capital system again. But I wanted to take a quick break to do that. Let's keep going with the comments.
All right, next comment. Thank you for adding the butthole aspect to truly modernize ethics.
Listen, again, I think that one of the most important things I did in that video, along with gaslight and condescend to the audience, is get into the butthole aspects of ethics. But this is again the point of that. For anyone who didn't see the video, is there's another version of a sort of trolley problem. It's like there's a bunch of guys that go into a cave and they're with one fat man. Also, the level of fat shaming in a lot of these ethical hypotheticals are insane. Like every third one is, will you kill a fat guy? Will you push a fat guy into the train tracks? It's like, who are these people and why do they hate big boys? But
What if the person is ugly? Dun dun dun.
yeah, like one person is hot, one's a total uggo. Who do you kill? Jesus Christ. But in this one example, it basically boils down to like, oh, sorry, these geese are fighting. Holy shit. Um, is that fight? Maybe they're fucking. I don't know. Maybe that's pre-fuck fighting. But back to big boys in caves. But some of these examples literally get at the idea of like, okay, so is it better to like die in the cave filling with water or use the dynamite that you happen to have on you to blow up the fat man and then get out? So I just speculated that if you're really going to do that, let's take it all the way. You'd have to shove dynamite up the guy's ass to do it. So that's where I'm willing to take things. But again, the ethical absurdity of these things, imagining these scenarios where all those things happen, I find to be a little much. And again, thanks for being here, guys. This is fun for us to do our first ever remote stream. This is the first of many. We'll go international soon. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Let's keep going through some comments.
All right, next comment. I really loved how The Good Place handled the trolley problem. Much easier to wrap your head around it when the victim's blood is literally on your hands and a bit in your mouth.
Yes, I think that's one of the best things the show did. Oops, spoilers. I'm gonna be a brat again and say that doesn't spoil anything. But yeah, in the show, we see a character who has to live out the trolley problem. What is the show doing there? Well, the show is taking a character who's a highfalutin academic philosopher obsessed with teaching ethics and morality via hypotheticals, and they are putting this individual in a place where they actually have to do it. Now, what happens over and over? This character, Chidi, is so caught up by sort of intellectual anxiety that he can't make a decision. Again, I can't help but reference my good friend Soren Kierkegaard, who famously said, "Decision is the little magic word that existence respects." And Chidi embodies that. When he finally does make a decision, he then has to deal with the consequences and ends up, killing someone and is covered in their blood. So I don't know. I think I just think it's what the show did there is both fun, but I think it's kind of excellent and exhibits a good understanding of the stakes of this sort of stuff. So good comment. We can't spoil a good place. If you haven't watched the show, you should watch it because none of this will ruin it. So let's keep going.
Yeah, I just wanted to note Vox dropped into the chat to let us know he's at a conference, so can't listen right
Ooh,
now, but we'll see us next week. Next
guys,
comment.
academic conferences are crazy. I'm sure Vox will have stories for us. I'll just let everyone see some more water as I keep walking. Um, a professor named Johanna Oksala, if anyone ever wants to read about Foucault, feminism, other things of that nature, she's really good. Wrote a really good introductory book on Foucault. But she once said to me in her very intense Finnish accent that people only go to academic conferences to drink too much and fuck people that aren't their spouses. So that's what I heard my first year of my PhD program from one of my professors when describing what happens at academic. Um,
Moises
yeah.
M in the chat says, I don't understand how it's a spoiler. The whole show's based around them being dead.
Yes. Okay. Moises. Love you so much. Great comment. Again, yes, because the quote unquote spoiler, and I was kind of joking about it when I said it, is that we show a clip where they show, and again, plug your ears if you want to hear this, where they show the character Chidi dying. But the first thing we learn in the first minutes of the first episode is that all the main characters are dead and they're in the good place. That's the title of the show. So showing how one of those characters ended up there is in no way spoiler because we already knew that they were all dead. Ooh, there's a nice view from where I'm right now. I'm going to turn around and let you guys see it. Hold on. We'll give you a little scanning view. And there's the skyline of downtown Chicago. You kind of get we don't really get the Sears Tower here, but there's the John Hancock building. And here's the little farm area of Lincoln Park. Okay, I'm going to turn it back around. Let's keep going down the comment train.
All right, next comment. Easter eggs used to be fun. It used to be a fun conversation starter on gatherings or dates.
Oh yeah, so now these are about the Easter egg videos,
Yeah.
so everyone knows.
Now it's just a competition of who knows more and who has the correct interpretation.
Yes, I mean here's why I like that comment, and this is what we get to in the Easter egg video. We're kind of talking, but this relates really well to the trolley problem thing too. When things become, when anything but trivia becomes trivia, it gets really boring. And when Easter egg culture becomes about like seeing a movie so that we can point at the screen and say, "Oh my God, there's the thing!" Like and this shouldn't be a spoiler, but in the most recent Ant-Man film, when we find out that Corey Stoll's character from the first movie is playing the Modoc now, and a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, it's the Modoc! Oh, there we go!" And it's like, okay, that's fun, but it was kind of a silly character that didn't really add a lot to anything else, and felt like it was there solely for the purpose of being a point at the screen moment. And I've been that person. I've seen a movie before where I'm like, oh, that's cool that they are showing a character you'd only know if you had read the comics or played this game or whatever it might be. I think, the Mandalorian's doing that quite a bit this season without spoiling, but where if you've watched like, Rebels and Clone Wars, they're sort of
Right.
I guess rewarding you. But that should be nothing other than like a fun little bonus. And when it's the primary thing we get excited about when watching something, that kind of sucks.
The flip side of that is when something like Boba Fett drops and people who absolutely are way too attached to the character just take that like kryptonite.
Yes, yes. Um, wait, I think
Oh, Dude
this
Abides
is
just dropped us $5. He says just popping in to say hi. Not much for what are ya, other than planning on a day to see both Super Mario Bros. And John Wick 4, hopefully Monday.
that sounds fun. And thanks for checking to Do divides. I'm way closer to you than normal. Not to dox him, but that's in Michigan. Uh, here's a just showing you some more scenery. Some more. I think this is the building that Evan was talking about me going to. Maybe not, but So cool. And again, thank you everyone for being here. I'm currently walking the nature boardwalk in Lincoln Park in Chicago, Illinois, getting close to the zoo right now. I am going to see if they will let me in the lion enclosure. But thanks again for being here. Thanks for liking the stream as always. And you guys know all the stuff. You know that you can be a member of the channel and get a green username. I have official word, guys. Our friend Lux, and for our friend and colleague Lux, is getting us hooked up with someone who's designing some emotes. That's really cool. That's coming down the bike. I can also confirm starting next week, my stream setup at home is gonna be a lot better. Got a new camera. Got if not like bisexual lighting, at least like bi-adjacent lighting, that I'm gonna try to set up. That'll be really great. But you know, we're continually working to make things better. You supporting us helps a lot. So thank you for those of you who are members, who get your green usernames, who know that you are lords of the chat. Really appreciate it. And you guys know this. There's the Patreon. We really appreciate when you guys join that. We're gonna be doing more and more stuff there. But you know, if you guys liked, you know, the nihilism video, the trolley prop video, and you do want more, I guess I could say like detailed philosophical discussion, that's when you want to consider the Patreon because I make a video series there where I just talk about philosophy and answer questions and stuff. So that's the thing you guys can check out if you want. So thank you for that, and thanks for as always liking the stream, being here, especially today of all days. Thanks for being here for this vaguely, not vaguely fun, but this fun, weird experiment that we're doing. I'm walking by a zoo right now. And you can kind of smell the animal shit. Okay. Back to you, Henry. What else do we got? Do you have any more
Yeah,
comments?
we have more comments. We have a few more. I'm going to go ahead and fade in on the next one. Not many people know that the Wisecrack logo at about 13 seconds in is a clever reference to the fact that this video was made and uploaded by the Wisecrack YouTube channel. Really makes you think.
Guys, they're finding Easter eggs everywhere. I thought that was funny. And yes, that's what we were doing there. That's what the Easter egg was for. So good eyes. Some of you know this though. There was an Easter egg in that video that was specifically for you all, and by you all I mean the stream family, those who keep it extra dry. So there was something for you there. Before Henry loads the next comment, I made it to the next statue. Now, this one, I talk about Kierkegaard a lot. This is a statue of one of Kierkegaard's contemporaries, another very famous Danish writer of the 19th century. We got Hans Christian Andersen. So there you go. Hans Christian Andersen, Danish writer, wrote children's stories. I think maybe he was kind of a dick historically, but I'm not totally sure. Next comment.
Next comment. OMG, the reference to Thug Notes was genius. I think this means they're going to do another series of the best literature knowledge show YouTube ever had.
Guys, there was no reference to Thug Notes in that video. I really appreciate the enthusiasm of the commenter, but I think this was like accidentally indicative, and it's maybe my fault for saying there was an Easter egg in the video, but indicative of why Easter egg culture is so weird. That, you know, someone, because clearly what happened there is someone watching the video, God bless them, wanted to see a tease about Thug Notes because they want that show to come back, and their desire for those things led them to seeing the thing that they desire, even though it was not there. And that's kind of, and to be clear, that person is, I'm sure, is very well intentioned. And the comparison I'm about to make is more general and not just about them. But that's kind of what we get at in the video. We talk about like QAnon, right? Like what are those people doing other than desiring a weird vision of reality, and then they are seeing that, um you know, they're projecting that which they want to see onto reality. So I thought that one was funny. And again, to be 100% clear, if the person left that comment is watching the stream, I'm truly not trying to make fun or tease at all. I'm simply saying that, like, you know, it's you're not going to get what you want in that instance. And because I told you there was going to be some Easter eggs, that's what you saw. But the only Easter egg, and again, I'll just say it, I'll be very clear. We have talked before on stream. I'm going to say this now quietly because there's a child about to walk by. We talk about how we're all in the dry dick gang together, the DDG. So I did leave those letters in the background of the video. and some of you did catch it. Although some people, because I guess my handwriting's bad, thought that it was ODG, and we're speculating on what that would have meant. Um, let's get through the rest of these comments, and we'll talk about Bud Light.
Cool. Yeah. Next comment. Okay, but for real now, repeat after me. Epstein didn't kill himself.
It just makes no sense that he did. And we were pretty hard on QAnon types in that video, but we'll give you that one. That is the one heavy online internet conspiracy theory that we'll give you. So I had to give credit where credit's due. It just makes no sense. So before we go deeper down that rabbit hole, we'll keep moving. But giving credit where credit is due.
I got one more comment on conspiracy theories, but I just wanted to bring up DT in the chat asking when we're going to do a Baudrillard video. I think that fits in with a lot of the spoiler talk and purposes of pop culture talk.
Ooh. Yeah. So okay. So we have in the past talked about Baudrillard a lot, especially in some of the older videos. Now that we are feeling like we're allowed to do some videos that are more explicitly philosophical in nature. I think that maybe a full-on video about Baudrillard could be something that we add to the docket. And I'll say this too. I mentioned last stream some of the things we want to get into. If you guys have ideas for videos you want to see that are more, I guess, explicitly ideas, philosophy, theory focused, please let us know what they are. Probably the easiest ways things to do. If you're on Discord, you can just let us know directly on there. You can tweet at either Wisecrack or just my account, Michael O'Burns. Um, but also you can shoot us an email at wisecracklad666 at gmail.com. We are 100% reading all of those emails. So I appreciate DT's suggestion. If people have more ideas, hit us up there. Was that way? Do we have one more comment or is that it?
Yeah, we got one more comment to pull up, so I'm bringing it now. Here's a conspiracy for you. Wisecrack wants me to pay them through their Patreon so I can skip ads on YouTube, and YouTube wants me to pay for them as well so I can skip ads. I have a feeling that no matter how much I pay, there will be ads.
I like that one. Here's the difference, right? The difference is if you pay YouTube money to not watch ads, you're giving money to YouTube, who has an ass ton of money. If you give money to Wisecrack, like you give us $5 or $10 a month, it's truly something where like if you are at the $5 Patreon level, we get like $4.19 of that. If you give us $10, we get like $9 of it. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's so much higher. And it's truly, you know, a very direct thing. But you're right, you're basically being held at gunpoint by various small, large, and medium-sized content companies and platforms to avoid advertising, which is horrible because we live.
Oh no, they're stopping us from talking the truth.
Am I here?
Yeah, you're
Okay, sorry guys. This thing happens where some people have called me on the phone. Here, we'll do a quick another, just a nature shot. If anyone needs to calm down, I know some of you steal time at the office, which we love by watching the stream. So there's a moment of nature for you. But let's leave nature and get back to content and capitalism. Yeah. So how about this? So that's the last comment. Let's watch this video. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not going to watch this video. I'm just going to hang out and continue walking for 2 minutes while Henry plays it. But I am aware of the content of this video. We will set the stage for you. Some of you might know this, and can you remember it right now? I'm forgetting the person's name. The trans woman who was in the ad.
Dylan Mulvaney.
Yeah, Mulvaney. So, I mean, the gist, and we'll see this in the video, is that Bud Light made a commercial featuring a trans influencer, and now right wing America wants to get rid of their Bud Light because trans people exist. I don't know. So let's watch this video and we'll talk about it. Feel free, Henry, and you can just kind of let me know we're back. I'll maybe mute myself as well in the meantime, so there's no background noise.
Okay.
Today, Bud Light facing some backlash over its partnership with a trans influencer. Take a look. There's a video posted by Kid Rock that has more than 1 million views, hundreds of comments praising him for shooting at cases of Bud Light. Other videos posted online show people like dumping their Bud Light into trash bins and down sinks, even destroying cans of the beer. Why? Well, Bud Light had teamed up with trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney during the NCAA's March Madness college basketball tournament. And while March Madness has officially wrapped up by now, it seems like the response to this partnership just seems to be getting more and more intense. Jay Valle, who's been following this story, is here with us now. Explain this. Explain the timeline here.
Well, after Dylan posted that, Hallie, thank you for having me, first of all. But, after Dylan posted this video, I mean, a lot of backlash came mostly from conservatives. And then when you have those individuals and with larger platforms like Kid Rock, you can imagine the conversation ignited even more. But Dylan Mulvaney is no stranger to the backlash from conservatives who, as she has 10 million followers on TikTok, and she's a trans woman who has documented her experience for over a year now. I assume now that Dylan received backlash on a daily basis, so she did not respond to our request for comment.
What are we hearing from Bud Light on this?
Yeah, Bud Light, the last 48 hours, as these videos have thousands of views, they did not ignore what conversations were being sparked. And Bud Light sent a statement, actually. Anheuser-Busch works with hundreds of influencers across their brands and as many ways to authentically connect with their audiences across various demographics is to partner with these influencers. So, as of this point, these videos, again, continuing to flow in, and that backlash is pretty intense there. As that Kid Rock video has over 1 million views now.
Jay Valle, thank you very much for that
Thank
breakdown.
you.
We'll read more about it, I know, in your postings for NBCnews.com. Your stories there. Appreciate it.
Okay, what a video. Also, you guys probably can't see this, but across the lake from where I'm at now, there's like a person dressed up like a can that looks like they're maybe bothering someone. It's really far. You guys can't see it. I don't even know why I'm trying. Um, but yeah, so were there any big details from the video that you want to acknowledge and the people in the chat are thinking about as we get into this one?
My favorite is that Mulvaney didn't even respond. Like, she's just letting it continue on. That's a good point there as far as when reached out to comment. It really is clearly one side throwing a fit here.
Yeah, and what was the context of the ad and stuff?
The ad itself?
Yeah, like what was it again that she did? Was it like a online thing? Was it a commercial?
Yeah, I believe it was on Instagram.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know, guys, and I'm curious, what people in the chat think about this. And again, thanks for watching. Oh my God, there's a sign that says coyotes in the area. Oh boy. Um, but yeah, thanks again for being here. It's Wisecrack Live. This is actually Lakeshore Live. Um, People from the Chicagoland area will get the reference. I'm Michael Burns. I'm here with Henry. I'm out of town this week, but we're still streaming from beautiful Chicago, Illinois. I'll show you guys another little skyline view. I'm currently in Lincoln Park, a park they named after the band Lincoln Park because the city loves them so much. Go ahead, Henry.
Oh, I just wanted to bring up the letter W in the chat saying 1 million views, 1 million views is not backlash. How many bots are views? Looks like no one cares about Kid Rock except the 55 people who got to duck on Dynasty Con.
Yeah. So, the fucking fact that the response to this, and again, like, there's funny parts of this and there's like kind of dark parts of this, right? Because in one sense, it's so stupid and it's so like idiocracy level that people that love drinking Budweiser, and here's the fun thing too, Budweiser, the American beer that's owned by a company based in Belgium called InBev, I'm pretty sure, that bought Anheuser-Busch. It's a fucking European corporation peddling you low quality mass produced beer that somehow you associate with the goodness of America. And then because you somehow also associate a lack of goodness with the existence of trans people, that means you have to stop drinking the beer that's owned by the multinational corporation based in woke Europe. It's just so stupid. And then, of course, the fact that you have to shoot it because the only way that we can, as Americans, show our disdain for anything is to fucking shoot it. But of course, to now get a little bit dark, you're doing this within what days of children getting shot with assault rifles?
Yeah,
While it's cool.
Where does your ethical compass fall as well if you're, I don't know, for religious or spiritual reasons against trans people yet pro alcohol? I don't know. It's a weird, it's a weird purity bar for me. I also wanted to bring up Kevin Maxey in the chat. Just gave us $5. He says, "What's up, Michael? Enjoy Chicago. Would love to connect and have a short on the fly interview for CTA Radio if that's possible. Sent an email."
Oh, sweet. That would be really fun, Kevin. Yeah, send an email to Wisecrack666 and I'll check it later. And thanks for shouting us out. It's super fun. Um, but yes, again, like the idea that your values, and this is the most confusing thing about a certain branch of the American right, is the connection of everything with evangelical Christianity. And I'll say this, guys, I think I know theology better than your average bear. And there's nothing in the Christian theological tradition that would lead to one defending the right for the consumption of mass produced, globally produced, European owned beer and using weapons to somehow disrespect the existence of trans folks. And it just, I don't know, the whole thing too, I just find, I don't want to say scary, but like, guys, and this, I know a lot of you don't live in America, so you live in countries that are stupid for a variety of reasons, I'm sure that you could tell us about, but like, it just makes me feel kind of depressed that we live in such a fucking stupid country where people are doing acts of political protest because the multinational beer company did an integrated Instagram partnership with a person they don't like because of their like sexual and gender identity. Like it's just who fucking cares? There's so many things happening in the world that suck so bad, and people are getting so worked up over things like this. I don't get it. Maybe someone in the comments has a better perspective or something on this. Yeah, go ahead.
Dominic Jasso in the chat says, "How do they even learn about this?" Also, because I didn't even hear about it until they threw a fit. And yeah, I know it's There's like a March Madness, or not a March Madness. There's a tie. There's like a sports tie-in with this, right? Which is why it gained traction. Because
Oh,
I
yeah,
was
yeah,
out
yeah.
of the loop on this until this morning. I had seen videos of Kid Rock firing the gun starting to creep up on my internet feed, and I thought it was just a general reactionary outrage meme. I didn't even know the specificity of the situation this time around until,
Yeah.
yeah, more
I
recently.
was the same thing. I had no idea this video existed until they got mad at it. And I saw it in particular because Jason Isbell, the incredibly talented singer, songwriter, guitar player of Jason Isbell and Jason Isbell in the 400 unit. Listen to him if you haven't. Um, he posted the thing kind of making fun of it. And in the comments, there was someone who was like, Kid Rock is 100 times the musician you would ever be. Guys, if you know anything about Kid Rock and you know anything about Jason Isbell, you know that's one of the most absurd statements ever. Jason Isbell's just a world class guitar player, is also a world class songwriter and like fucking good dude. So it's very funny. But yeah, like again, like the people who hate these things, I mean, here's the thing. They're mad at the European owned beverage conglomerate for not having their specific values or lack thereof. And then in protesting the thing, they are doing a bunch of free digital marketing for the European beer company that they hate so much. Um, and of course, because America, and let me say this, if anyone's watching this who's conservative leaning, thinks I'm being unfair, I got you. Just give me a second. Let me cook. Um, because America's stupid on both sides, there's one type of stupid person who's shooting holes in cans of Bud Light at the point. There's another type of person who I think is also stupid and maybe in a less damaging way, who's like buying cases of Bud Light to like stand with trans people or something like that. Right. But what they're doing is also giving money to these soulless European beverage conglomerate whose only ethical value is create a product at the lowest cost they can sell to us at the highest cost, with no regard for things like alcoholism and stuff like that. But it's just like I find it all so dumb, and it's just becoming increasingly hard think to not think that we just don't live in the dumbest of all possible worlds. I don't know anything going on in the chat. I'm sure there's stuff going on in the chat. The hardest thing about this, you guys, is missing the chat. But anything you wanted to know from there? Right?
Yeah, just a general agreement that yeah, it really wasn't until they started getting mad. You know, at first, Casey Shadowin says at first I thought Kid Rock just didn't like Bud Light. I also just wanted to bring up Super Sleepy Boy says as a trans person, it's super cool to see people shooting beer cans. They definitely are projecting the desire for violence against people like me or anything. And then in
Oh,
parentheses, sarcasm. And yeah, that's definitely the frustrating part of this too, is
yes.
the permissible violence that's allowed to like be on display because it's just like, oh yeah, they have the right to do that. Something that's
Yeah.
also never really looked at is just the cost of like buying these things to destroy these things and like taking the time out of your schedule to destroy things and like what kind of expendable income and time you have to do these
Yeah.
kinds of forms of protest.
And also, to do this protest, you're buying more of the thing from the company you supposedly hate. But to that comment as well, like one of the early clips I saw was someone just pouring cans of beer in a sink, and then they got roasted for having a weird looking sink. But and that's like stupid. But yeah, with the gun shit, it's like it's fucked. Like if you take a level, it's like, are those cans meant to represent the acknowledgement of the humanity of trans people? And in shooting those cans, are we, you know, projecting physical violence towards trans human beings? And maybe those people aren't smart enough to see that that's what they're doing. I think whether they're smart enough or not, they know that's a part of it. But that's really fucking scary. Um, and as I'm talking about this, I'm just getting really bummed just thinking about it. And I can't imagine what it's like to be, a trans person and see shit like that and be like, oh, cool. So a bunch of fucking, I almost said something that was maybe not classist, but maybe mean against people from the South because a lot of great people are in the South. I don't mean to diss. Um, but yeah, to have to live a life where you have to turn on the news or go on the internet and see idiots with big followings doing violent symbolic acts to negate your very identity. It's just like, what the fuck is happening?
The letter W says that the ammunition's more expensive than the money they made in views.
Yeah, I mean, I don't listen. I've never bought a bullet, but I feel like they're expensive. So yeah, and again too, it's just like what is politics? And for anyone who thinks we're being one-sided, I could also list off a bazillion examples of like American liberals doing the most vapid things with no real material value. Symbolic. So to be clear, I know sometimes we get accused of being like one-sided, but we'll we'll criticize vapidity and stupidity on all sides. We're talking about this specific example because this is a specific thing that's popping on the internet.
Yeah, Super
This,
Sleepy Boys brings up a trans person in the South too. Super hard out here. And yeah, keep that in mind about the South too. Is a lot of what you see that's bad or projected as bad or stereotypical is structurally what the power there wants people to see. There's a lot of people who are basically taken hostage in the South because of the way politics is arranged.
yeah. When it's also that constant reminder that like in American politics, the margins of victory are really small. So like sure, in some states we might say, oh, that's a red state. But that might mean that like 52% of voters voted one way and 48% voted another way. And that there's people of tons of like diverse backgrounds and groups and political leanings. But things from that. So guys, I'm gonna go under a tunnel again for a second where I might be gone for a second. So I'd say this is a good time to maybe check out some comments, Henry.
Yeah, Thornback just wrote Texas. I strongly agree as a fellow Texan. It's very fun to feel represented where I live.
I'm not sure if I am being seen or heard right now, but I'm coming out of the other side of the tunnel.
Yeah, you're actually coming through quite strong. No breakup or anything.
Okay, guys, this is what a great experiment. This has been a very fun thing to do. We'll wrap up in a few. Um, if there's anything that anyone who's hanging out in the chat, and again, I appreciate you. If you're still, I feel like you're just like real. If you're with us for this, we just love you. You're a ride or die person. And again, we hope you know that we're doing this because it's important for us to be here for you every week. I know I get annoyed sometimes if a podcast or a show or just a thing that I like when they take weeks off, I'm like, don't you remember that this is about me and not you? So I want you to know that this is about you and not us. Um, but I'm really glad we can be here. Um, let's maybe wrap up. If anyone does have any questions about anything, I will vow pure. I will vow an honesty as pure as the waters of Lake Michigan. So if anyone has any questions, we'll kind of start wrapping up in a few. But happy to answer whatever. If they're for me, if they're for Henry, Henry doesn't have to be fully honest because he's not currently bathing in the waters of the Great Lakes. Um, but yeah, if anyone has any questions about anything, it could be a wisecrack. It could be about something we talked about today. It could be I don't know, a life advice thing. It could be personal details about Henry or in my life. It could be rankings of dogs. We'll leave a window now for anything of that nature. Uh, and if nothing, that's fine too.
Yeah, we're getting lots of love, and Michael Dodge does ask which park you're in right now. Other than that, everybody's hoping you have a great week out there.
Hey, thanks guys. I'm in Lincoln Park, which is a massive park north of downtown Chicago. Oh, go ahead.
Are you going up to Milwaukee ever? Michael Dodge is curious.
Ooh, so Michael, I am. On this trip, I'm not. I am. This might be a known fact or an unknown fact. I'm a big fan of the city of Milwaukee. I would love an excuse to go there. Maybe one day Wisecrack will be at the point where we can be like one of those podcaster things that does like live shows and visits places. But not on this trip, Michael. Not on this trip. Hopefully soon. Milwaukee's a great place. I do not like their sports teams, but that's where my beloved Miller High Life is produced. And yeah, go ahead.
The letter W is asking if you saw the idea attachment in the email they sent. If it's hard to understand, we can follow up with you.
Ooh, I want to say yes, letter W. I want to say yes, and I want to say I liked it, but I'm gonna look back at it again. I don't have a computer or an email in front of me right now, but yes, and I really appreciate that. In general, like letter W in particular, you, but anyone else who sent us stuff, we appreciate it, and I hope everyone knows. I don't really always have like time or effort or enough ADHD medication to always like respond and say thanks for everything. But I hope you know that we're reading those and we really appreciate it. And I'm glad we started that email address because it's been really fun to find even more ways to connect and see what's going on with everyone. Um, Anything else?
Yeah, we have Kiwi112 asking for you to please analyze more Atlanta episodes, and we have the Jigmeyer asking if you're coming to Boston.
Again, listen, I wish this was a tour, Jigmar. Oh, Boston scares me. I've never been to Boston. Something about Boston, to be honest, it really scares me. I don't know why. It just people from Boston seem a little intense, man. And in terms of Atlanta episodes, I would love to find ways to do that. So, we did a video on Atlanta after like the first or second season, and it did really well. And then we did a video after season three that I was excited about, and it did kind of tank, all things considered. So, if you haven't seen that one yet, maybe check it out. You might like it. Hopefully, we can find ways to do that because I think it's still one of my favorite shows ever made. I think that it ended on a masterful stroke. And I kind of think Atlanta, not that this is what you asked, but I think the COVID break really hurt that show because it had so much momentum. And then they had to stop making it for a couple of years. And by the time it came back, it just our culture moved so fast, it kind of lost. The show didn't lose its magic, but it lost a bit of the, cultural cachet it had, I think. Yeah, anything else?
Yes, Dino Spumoni is asking, is it a American thing or a human thing that we seek out things that bring us outrage to meet new people?
That we see. So, and this is me slightly talking out my ass, aka my dynamite hole. Um, but I feel like I've read psychological studies before that show that friendships and relationships tend to bond more over shared dislikes than shared likes. Um, and so part of me thinks there's that, and I think there's a big emotional response. We dislike stuff. Part of me thinks as well that like, and this is a trap that I fall into. I'm sure many of us do where sometimes hating the quote unquote right stuff feels good. And if I hate the right thing and you hate the right thing, then, you know, at least we're good. And I think especially the shittier the world gets, I feel like the more and more it's like, well, at least we're not those guys. So there's that. Let me show you guys, this might be my last camera reversal of the stream. This is cute. So this bench right here, MCB and NLW had their first kiss here, and then they got engaged here only, let me do some math, like what is that, 14, 15 months later? So shout out to MCW and NLW. Well, if there's anything else, I'm happy to respond to a couple more things. If not, no worries.
DT wants to know, damn, how far did Michael walk?
Oh, so I'm not going to check my step counter. I think that in the last hour, I'd probably walked like 2 miles, I would guess. I did a pretty solid loop and I ended up moving for most of the time. Normally during stream, I probably put on calories. I think I burned some here. So yeah, I think I got a pretty solid loop in. This is, maybe we should just have a weekly stream now that's like take a walk with us, where we can all go take a walk together. Okay, final. If there's any more questions, we'll do those now. But final call for that sort of thing. So you see anything worthy, Henry?
Eddie Villanueva wants to know, did you get his drawing in the email?
Oh my God, Eddie, how did I not email you back? Eddie, that ruled so hard. I don't know if you saw this, Henry. And you know what? We should have put that on screen today. We'll do it next stream. Guys, Eddie did a drawing that was sort of like a visual interpretation of, and sorry if I get this wrong, Eddie, like a visual interpretation of last week's stream with words and images corresponding to topics. It kind of blew me away. Between that and some of the tattoos we got, and I'll share that next week to our tattoo artist buddy in Colorado who shared some info with us. Eddie, that ripped. Thank you so much. And I think next week we can play some catch up, and we'll maybe get into some emails, show some art and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think let's see. Yeah, my battery actually held up pretty well. So let's do some closing thoughts and we'll wrap up. Again, if you're just tuning in late, and you're wondering what the fuck is happening. This has been Wisecrack live from Chicago. I'm out of town this week. Also, I'm here visiting my in-laws for Passover. So, fuck, I forget the word I'm supposed to say, but happy Passover to all who celebrate. Sometimes I'm a bad boy, forget all the proper verbiage, but had a really fun um, Passover dinner last night. Even if the readings of the Seder were a little bit like anti-Marxist at times, but that's another talk for another day. Luckily, at the Passover dinner I was at, there was a couple sociology PhDs who were also like, yeah, there's some weird like anti-Marxist stuff in the Seder. But happy Passover to everyone, and happy Easter to anyone who's celebrating that, whether you're celebrating it in a real theological way or celebrating an excuse to be with family and eat some food. Happy holidays, everyone. Hopefully, people get some time off work. I know in some countries people get days off for Easter and things like that. And as always, consider supporting us. Patreon, becoming a member here. It's always the most important thing is watching the videos. We got some cool stuff coming out. We have a video coming out on, we filmed the other day on if we can learn ethics from bad people, which is a pretty fun one. So hopefully you guys dig that. We got more stuff. I'm always forgetting what they are. Oh, we have a video that's going to come out soon on if you can date AI or if you have an AI girlfriend. But yeah, we have some fun stuff coming your way that I think you guys will like. And yeah, and thanks to Henry, of course, for being so flexible here. But I guess unless there's anything else you feel like we should talk about, Henry, I think we should probably wrap this one up.
Yeah, I think we're good to go. Thanks for joining us outside today, y'all. We'll be seeing you next week.
Thanks, guys. See you then. And if you haven't done it today, get outside as well. It's nice.